Hello everyone, Jamie Meloni here, host of the all-new That Business Show 2.0, where each weekday morning we talk with different business owners, entrepreneurs, business and community leaders. And we'd like to hear your story too. Go to tbsinterview.com for more information, and all shows available on demand in both iTunes as a podcast and videocast, and on our YouTube channel. Just go to thatyoutubechannel.com. We've made the page easy to find, again, by going to thatyoutubechannel.com. So today we're talking about the power of relationships. We got executive coach Jason Troy with us today. You can learn more at his website, jasontroy.com. Troy spelled T-R-E-U, so don't let the pronunciation throw you there. Treu.com to look that up online. And again, he is a top business and executive coach and sales trainer, and a leading expert on human behavior, daring leadership, and relationship building. So again, Jason, welcome into the program today.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
So first off, you talk about, how to reach ultimate success through the power of our relationship. So let's just do a little bit about relationship 101. What do we know, or what do we have out there that maybe some of us entrepreneurs aren't utilizing with our relationships?
Well, I think you have to start with the premise that everything we accomplish in life is with or through other people. So your relationships are going to make or break you because, they always say it's who you know, it's not what you know. So by finding the right people and having the right relationships, a lot of doors can open up for you to make your business and success a lot easier.
Is it possible to build relationships, though, just through word of mouth? It's always, speaking like in the coaching or consulting, there's always a little bit of, brand building in front of the client to get comfortable with. But if you get to the Tony Robbins level or something, then people know who you are basically by association and then through your own brand. At what point does, your relationship start to carry itself through the power of others?
Well, I think it does a lot because people are going to be your advocates. You're going to create raving fans, people that are going to endorse you. So how you treat other people, how you build those relationships will affect it, right? Because basically what you're talking about is an indirect network, and that's through other people being your advocate. So that's a really powerful way that everyone needs to build their relationships.
Yeah, and I talk a lot in this program about building community, building influence. We're moving into an age of influence, as some of the people have put it. And so you've got to become some type of leader in a community to really set yourself apart from your competition, whether it's a head of a Facebook group or your LinkedIn profile with, a lot of different articles, a lot of different ways you can begin to distinguish yourself. What do you recommend in terms of setting yourself apart as a leader in your respective industry or your communities?
Well, I think if it's in your community on a local level, you need to find where the influencers are going. And that's typically in charity organizations and nonprofits. That's where people are at. Now, there can be some business organizations as well. That also works. But I think by actually participating and joining into activities that they're doing, you can build a significant amount of influence in your local community because those people have the most amount of wealth, they have the most amount of connections, so they can open up all their doors.
I like how you mentioned nonprofit because I had somebody on the show recently who said that is a key indicator of basically your future success is your association with a nonprofit. Everybody else is doing the certain to-dos, do this, this, and this, but you also need to have an association with a nonprofit so that you're beginning to show, I guess, the human side of yourself, not just the professional side of yourself. Are you seeing or are yourself involved with nonprofits? I myself am not. It's something I from doing the show that, I want to put on my to-do list. Have you seen others have success with aligning with a nonprofit?
Yes. A lot of success. And nonprofits can be, local and they can be national and they can't even be bigger, right? Think about it this way is the TED organization, everyone's heard of the TED conference.
Yes.
Well, ostensibly that they're not making money. So it is almost a nonprofit. You may not be thinking about it like that, but they serve and give back to the community. So, that's a pretty wide breadth of things that you can do. And that's where people who have money and are social, aware people are. I mean, if you want to meet Richard Branson, Bill Gates, I mean, there's side ways to do that. And, instead of going directly to try to find a way to them, there's ways that you can meet. A lot of these influencers are participating through those activities. And I mean, for clients of mine and friends and other people and myself, I mean, I've built a lot of relationships through there. And in fact, it's the best way because you're in a mode for giving. So people are much more open to meeting you and helping you because of the avenue that you're meeting them versus one that's a for-profit or in an environment that can be set up more for taking.
Good information, and definitely something on my radar too, aligning with a nonprofit. I have the podcast here, been on radio 3.5 years. Definitely, I think I kind of missed the boat with that one, the last 3 years, but, something I've taken out of this interview, and as well as, the interview I referenced, the past second person to bring up, align yourself with a nonprofit to help differentiate yourself and get yourself in front of more influencers in your community. Again, talking to Jason Troy, executive coach. Tell us a little bit more about your background now. You're based in Dallas, Texas. Have you always been a coach and consultant to entrepreneurs? Tell me a little about yourself.
Well, no, I went to law school. I got my master's in communications and then decided I love technology more and went to Silicon Valley for 7 years and got to meet some great people. Mark Cuban, when he sold his business, I worked with Steve Jobs for a year.
Oh, you got to meet Steve Jobs. Wow, that's incredible. What was he like? Is he as kind of mean and condescending as they made him out to be in the movies?
Pretty much so.
Was he? Okay,
I mean, for the most part. I mean, I didn't get that much interaction with him, but I got some. And that's, he saw the world in a different view. 98% of what you did was marginal or not that good. 1%, was good. And then if you got to that, maybe that other 1%, maybe you could potentially do something great. But his bar for doing those things was ridiculously high.
Yeah, I've obviously never met or worked with the guy. I just know what I know about him through books and online videos and the movies, which kind of vilified him to some degree, at least his personality. But it's always interesting to talk with people that actually met him and see what's real and what was not. So talk to us. Okay, you're in Silicon Valley. What were you doing there? Were you involved in some investments out there?
Doing some marketing.
Okay.
So I was doing marketing, leadership, strategy, and it was a great time to work with startups, venture capital people, and also some, public companies at the time as well. So it was a great time, fast moving, a lot of ups and downs, obviously, because I was there during the gold rush and then the bottoming out of it all. And then, eventually from there, I moved here to Dallas to work in a startup company. And I got here actually via Austin. I was interviewing for a job and I got the job, and my boss drove me to another interview with another company that he said I should join. Pretty much helped facilitate that. And that's how I actually found my way to Dallas.
Okay. And so when did you open up, or when did you see the opportunities in coaching and consulting? A lot of people step into this space, and it's a very lucrative business for people that do it and do it well. When did you see that opportunity, and how did you make that transition?
Well, actually, I found it in a different way. Because I built a really good network here, I had a couple friends who approached me randomly about the same time to help one of their friends move from one city to another. And they're both guys that were about 30 years old, really introverted, and had never lived in another large city. So I just talked to them about it and just helped them. I mean, there was really nothing in it for me. And, within about 3 months, they had really made this transition in a big way, both professionally and personally, and had better lives than they had ever had before. So I knew that if I was helping a couple people and it worked, I could help a lot of people because there's something I had down. So I approached someone who had an existing business and pitched some ideas on products and coaching and just did it as a side hustle for a little while. And then I saw a bigger picture in the business world that I could really go forward, and worked, on my book independently, Social Wealth, and then, just decided to jump in full throttle.
Now, when you began consulting, and this is a question I ask a lot of coaches and consultants, I mean, I'm the type of person that sees, the big programs and the websites and the books and the to-dos, and then I see somebody else who's basically just a coach or consultant that talks to people, and they don't have any real program or, step-by-step tutorials to take people through. Can you be just as successful as a consultant without all the bells and whistles, just by exchanging time for the money and talking to people?
I think you can, but I think you have to start codifying and building your brand. I mean, and I think having, things like a book are entrees for you and build social proof. So I think you can do it many different ways. And I would definitely start by doing this side hustle and seeing if people would pay you for it, and can you help them? And I think that's an important part of a process, because you just don't want to jump in and not know that that's going to work.
And
because that's a dangerous way to live.
Now, how did you market yourself as a coach and a consultant? How did your business begin to pick up with clients rolling in?
Well, I mean, it was a combination of doing some marketing, my book, and then referrals is a really strong thing. I mean, I got some great coaching from some people. I was really good at doing the relationship building and things in the external world, but creating behavioral change or mastering your own psychology, doing it in a way that was really quick, was something that I hadn't done before. So instead of taking, a year and a half coaching program, I just went to the best people out there and learned from them, and a lot of up and coming people. And that really made a significant difference in my ability to help people quickly, and then, focus on management, leadership, relationship building, other things like that.
And I was going to ask, I think you kind of delved into it a little bit there. Again, you're an executive coach. So who is your niche? Who do you deal with primarily? Are you dealing or consulting the entrepreneur, the business owner? Tell me who your niche client is.
It's usually someone at a vice president level and above in a corporation, and high performing entrepreneurs. And usually they're coming to me in some level of pain, whether they're stuck, they don't know where to go next, they want to open a new business and they're not sure what to do. Maybe they're having some leadership or management challenges, and so they're coming to me to help them get unstuck. And it's a combination of helping them is through, call it really mini therapy, sort of deep self-inquiry, and then helping them with best practice skills and learning different things in that, and then also opening the door through really helping them understand the relationships to build, where to build them, how to build them, and then helping them acquire them.
Okay. And again, talking to Jason Troy, executive coach and also author of the best-selling book, Social Wealth, How to Build Extraordinary Relationships by Transforming the Way We Live, Love, Lead, and Network. And we're going to talk more specifically about that book when we come back from the break. Again, talking with Jason Troy. You can learn more at his website, jasontroy.com. Troy is spelled T-R-E-U. Again, T-R-E-U.com. And more about us at TampaBayRadio.com. All new shows air weekday mornings at 7 a.m. live on TampaBayRadio.com. You're currently listening to That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring-type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Hi, Jackie Skelton from JR World Travel here. If you travel, you need a licensed professional travel consultant, not a computer. Your licensed professional consultant can get you more for your time and your money. Value for your money and experience, not marketing salesmanship. When you're sick, you call the doctor. When you need legal advice, you call an attorney. So the next time you want to go on any type of travel, call your licensed professional travel consultant who actually represents you. We specialise in group travel, family reunions, weddings, to escorting large groups or making special arrangements for the disabled. Please call 844-249-0190. We are a full-service travel consultancy offering worldwide concierge service. Air, land, sea, rivers, resorts, locally, nationally and internationally. Remember that number, 844-249-0190.
And welcome back to That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business. If you're finding us on the air or finding us on a show for the first time on iTunes or YouTube, we'd like to hear your story too. We talk with many different professionals each and every weekday morning. So visit tbsinterview.com to learn how to come onto the program. My guest today, Jason Troy, executive coach. Learn more at jasontroy.com, spelled T-R-E-U, Jason, T-R-E-U.com. And I want to talk about his book, Social Wealth, How to Build Extraordinary Relationships by Transforming the Way We Live, Love, Lead, and Network. So, Jason, at what point in your career did you write this book? Was this before you started coaching and consulting or during? When did the book come into play?
Well, it was during. So I decided that I wanted to write a book and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to write on. So I created a podcast show in like 2011, 2012. And it was way back easier then to get really big name guests because podcasts were not as big. So I actually went and found some pretty amazing people, some really famous professors, a business partner of Gwyneth Paltrow, like the #1 sake expert in the world. I mean, I interviewed like 40 really successful people and really wanted to find out how they got successful, what all happened. And from that, one of the trends that really emerged, that relationships were really significant. So I took that and I just started to riff on that. And I interviewed, several hundred other people, got more information, and then just wrote the book.
And a common theme, I take it, was, that they didn't get where they were by doing it themselves. Somebody had to help them in some way along the way, and that's what the relationship element is of it. Is there a common thread throughout the book in the terms of the types of relationships? Were they, is an equal mixture of personal and professional? What type of relationships, and how long did they need to nurture that relationship before it began to bear fruit?
I think it really depends on but most people meet people as just normal people, meaning personally, right? People like you and then they want to help you. And so I think that's really one of the most important things is people that are the most successful can shorten the curve to take someone from an acquaintance to someone who people perceive as being a good friend. And that's something I found that people did really well, that were really successful and found ways in order, to do that. And I don't think there's any like magical secret. Everyone had different stuff of how long some of these relationships took. I think it's a lot about the value you add to other people. And it's the perceived value, right? It's not you necessarily giving them a lot of money or contacts. It's what they feel is important. And the people that got to really do that and nurture it. And I think it's a long game. I mean, people didn't wake up one day overnight and go start building relationships. And then all of a sudden these things happen. People have been doing it for a number of years.
Right. And I think about the relationships that I have. I have many professional relationships in Tampa as a result of I was on radio here locally for 3.5 years before branching it into, just an online podcast. But I have fostered many relationships professionally. But there's still, that hurdle to get over to make it into an actual, customer client type of relationship. Any tips to help make that transition between somebody that professionally and then converting them into an actual paid client?
Well, I think one of the things is you've got to get to know people. And one of the things that I find that people ask the wrong questions to develop these relationships. And in the beginning, build rapport, you need to find common ground with people. And we've all of those times where we built relationships really quickly and we felt like we've known that person for our entire lives. Well, the thing is, you can do that almost all the time if you ask the right questions. And how you do that is you ask questions that connect to people emotionally and things that they care about. And you do that by asking questions like, what are you excited about in your life about now, right? Or what are you most passionate about? Or what projects are you working on that you're most passionate about? Because then you can find things in common and you could potentially help that person in a number of ways, whatever it might be. It could be just an article or a book you give them. Well, that really touches someone because that's something they're emotionally connected to and invested in. And that's how you speed up a relationship. And then people are much more willing to help you on the other side in what you might need, a contact or help or whatever it might be. But if you do it the old-fashioned way, people ask, where did you work at? Where did you live? Like, people are so turned off by that because they've had negative experiences or relationships that haven't turned out that way, that they immediately turn you off and they can put you on autopilot. Or the other question, they force you to be present.
That's a great point. The power of emotional connecting, because people buy based on emotion more so than they do on facts. So finding that emotional connection with others, a great takeaway from what you just said. Go ahead.
Yep. So that's the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's not complicated. I mean, because what happens is when you start asking those types of questions, you're actually more engaged. They're more engaged. So what helps is likability. The number one thing in likability is listening. So you'll be listening, you'll be present just by asking the question, and so will the other person. And then by building trust, it's a lot easier because by asking those types of questions, you show that you care, right? Immediately, because other people are not doing it, and you immediately stand out from them. And then if you can help them a little bit, immediately you go from an acquaintance to someone who's actually in their inner circle. And you can do this in 5 minutes. And I mean, I've done this so many times, and I've had other people do it, and it seems like magic, but the reality is you're just doing what 99.9% of the people don't do. They take 5, in-person meetings or conversations to do what you can do in 5 to 10 minutes. And it's just because people don't know any better, and they believe that it takes a long time. And that's just, a limiting belief.
What can you help share with the audience in terms of going to general networking events and trying to foster, effective relationships? I get frustrated going to networking events because it's sort of like, here's my card, a couple minutes of general chit chat and you move on. Is there any ways to effectively work a networking room when you're at like a mass event like that?
I think it's hard because you have a lot of people that are in taking mode. That's why going to charity events or nonprofit events, or some select business events, or even things like if you join things like a running club that you love, you have things in common that you're actually like you're doing. And other people are in different mindsets. They're not in the taking mindset. So I think those are way better. I mean, I don't really find a networking event it's very difficult to find someone and to change someone's psychology and mindset in a conversation like that, especially if they're desperate or they're really that's only focus for going. So I don't recommend people go to those because I just don't think that they're getting much value for the time that you're going to spend.
Good information. Now, your book, Social Wealth, again, How to Build Extraordinary Relationships. You wrote the book after you became an executive coach. Talk to me about what writing the book did for your career. We talk a lot about, writing books on this program, and nobody ever says it didn't do anything for my business. So talk to me about what the book did for you as a business owner.
Well, I mean, it gave a lot of credibility. I mean, I spent a lot of time writing it, and I did it in a different way than most people do. I followed grounded research rather than had a theory before I went into the book. And, when I have people reading it, I mean, they know that I understand human behavior and how people tick and how to build these relationships and giving them a blueprint to it. So I think that it's important to have a book of some kind that's yours, even if it's something that's only 40 or 50 pages, right? I mean, I think that having your thoughts, your unique footprint down is a great way to open doors. And if you're not doing it, other people are. And you'll have to create other tools and things that you can give to people if you don't have like something like that to gain credibility with other people.
How long did it take you to get your book completed and out onto the marketplace from the time
I took a long time for this. And I mean, there were a variety of reasons, but I mean, it probably took me like 13, 14 months, but you can definitely do it within, I think, 3 months or less to get it done. I mean, I just approached it from a research standpoint in a different way because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I did a podcast show. And if I wouldn't have done that, and I would have come up with a premise, I could have done something a lot quicker.
Well, you're working to differentiate yourself again through writing a book, through a podcast, through your connections with nonprofits. A lot of great takeaways from this discussion. Got a couple of minutes left. Why do people get stuck personally and professionally, and why your emotions are the gateway to creating extraordinary success?
Well, I think the key thing is we have blind spots and we can't see them. And these are set up from survival patterns that have been ingrained in our life since we've been under the age of 10. And what ultimately happens is we learn, model, and accept behavior as kids, and that goes forward in our life. And every client I've had, and I've worked with hundreds of people at this point going through this process, every single person has had some major issue that is holding them back, that is currently emanating from that, right? I mean, I've had clients that have been told to shut up as kids, and they believe that now. They've turned themselves off emotionally because their parents said, boys don't cry or share their emotions, right? So like all these things had happened. Another client who her parents told her her voice was really squeaky. And so she was in sales, but it was like really difficult for her to be successful in it. And so people have these things that go on. And I think the challenge is you need to like unblock them, which you can do really quickly, and then set them free. And it really goes back to people have the stories that they're making up around the world around them. And they have emotions attached to those stories. And you've got to really understand what emotions are you feeling that are negative and why, and then begin a process of doing something to empower yourself to move past them.
Availability of your book. Where can people pick up copies of your book?
On Amazon.
Amazon, okay. And then people can find you. Looks like you're all across social media. For people to reach out to you for coaching and consulting, give a quick pitch out there for your business.
Sure. So, I'm in the business of helping people create quick behavioral changes and really turn them into fantastic leaders and really just up their performance. And I work with individuals and teams, and I work with everyone from high-level chairman people all the way, down to small business owners and across the board, and help them. And, you can find out a lot more information about what I do and my services at my website, which you mentioned, jasontroy.com.
All right, Jason, thank you so much for being with me today, and a great discussion. A lot of good takeaways from this interview. So, Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, author of the book Social Wealth: How to Build Extraordinary Relationships, available on Amazon, and learn more at jasontroy.com, spelled TREU, jasontroy.com. And also you can learn more about us at tampabayradio.com. Please connect with us all across social media. You'll find us on Twitter at ThatBizShow, Facebook.com/ThatBusinessShow. So we'd appreciate the connections on social media. And to come on to the program, visit tbsinterview.com. You've been listening to the all-new That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products: hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Hey everyone, Jamie Meloni here, host of the all-new That Business Show 2.0, where business becomes show business. I want to talk today about podcasting, get a lot of questions about the topic, and I myself being a podcaster and 3.5, 4 years of experience between radio and doing the program here. So thought I'd share some tips on how to get started with your own podcast. It's a growing medium and a pretty fairly simple way to get additional exposure for your business, or maybe you just like to do it even as a hobby. Meet additional people as guests on your program. It's just a great way to develop content that differentiates yourself from other people around you. I started, on radio 3.5 years ago and didn't really consider myself a podcaster, but, a radio show host is still, a form of, of podcasting. A podcast, you'll get several different answers to what one is, but in short, it's any type of regularly produced episodic content that's either audio or video in nature. And so being a radio show, you're obviously producing regular audio content, but a podcast is much different than what a radio show is and how the content is delivered. A podcast is designed for a niche specific audience, and it's designed to be listened to from beginning to end, and it's a much more personal connection with the listeners. Radio being a much more broad listening medium. That's why you hear radio show hosts continually, what they do, reset the program. You're currently listening to, 1220 XYZ. I'm your host, Joe Schmo, and we're, Tampa's top 40 go-to station. So it's because the listeners are constantly resetting. They say every 10 to 15 minutes, you're talking to an almost entirely different base of listeners on radio versus what you're doing on a podcast. And so the first step in choosing, to do a podcast is what your show is going to be on and who your niche audience is. So who is it that the show is designed for? It's like writing a book. Who are you writing the book for? Who is your podcast for? And you don't want to cast too wide of a net, because in podcasting, it's much more effective to have a smaller integrative audience than millions of listeners. And even to get to the millions of listeners point is not common with the do-it-at-home podcaster. And so you want to focus on something niche and become an influencer in that specific area. So whether it is something around a hobby that you like, a community cause, your job, or something specific within your job, or maybe a political issue that you're passionate about. Whatever it is, you want to become an influencer in that marketplace. So after you've decided on your topic and who your podcast is for, the next thing that you'll want to do is you want to have a logo designed. Logos, I recommend spending a little bit of money and getting something from an actual graphic a designer that is reputable and can give you some different examples to look at. But if you want to save money, there's sites such as Fiverr or 99 Designs, and there's several others. What those are sites where you can put out to a community of designers or community of whatever it is that you're looking for. I'm talking about logos here specifically, but those sites you can get a variety of different things, from a logo to website design, to blog posts, whatever it is that you like. I mean, you've got all kinds of content providers on the site, and it's also a great place for freelancers to pick up additional work. And so you want to have your logo designed, and what it is, the site I think takes $99, and then whatever it is that you offer above and beyond that base price point then goes to the designer or the developer whose artwork that you choose. And when I started That Business Show 3.5 years ago, I needed a logo, and I went to 99 Designs and I offered $300. So it was $99 to the site and then $200 to the winning designer. You tell them what you're looking for, the idea, and then I got 250 submissions to choose from. And so it was a very healthy competition, and you whittle it down into stages, and then finally, the final rounds before you make your decision. And you get a lot of content to choose from. One thing to be mindful of, though, when you use those sites, is that you check around with the logo designs that you like, and make sure that they are not pulled from other sites or in any way stolen from other companies, because some designers out there will take designs that are already in existence and try to reduplicate them, or I should say duplicate them on the site, or maybe make a little tweak to it to say it's original, but in actuality you are infringing on somebody's trademark. So be mindful of that. Look for something that's creative before you make a final decision. Put it out there to your sphere of influence. See if anybody says that looks like this logo or that looks like that logo. Be mindful of if you use an acronym of sorts. For instance, when I decided to do that business show, I didn't want to use TBS as part of my logo because TBS is a media station. And because I'm in media technically, if I was ever to get to some large capacity with the show, TBS, the media channel, may say that I'm infringing on their trademark letters TBS. So some mundane little things like that can come back to bite you. Now, if you're just going to remain a small, uninfluential, podcaster, TBS would have never, would not come looking for me. But something still, though, to be mindful of, because if you start something, you want to continually grow it. So it's best to plan at the beginning stages so you don't have to deal with, lawyers, later on in the stage and have to change a logo, which is really the identifying mark of any business. And so a logo is key to designing your podcast. Once your logo is created, make sure that you get the logo in a variety of different formats. Another reason to use a graphic designer, if you have a friend, simply whip up a JPEG image in Photoshop. You may not send you all the different formats, such as .aep and some of the other different things out there for use in different types of files. And so you want to get a whole collection of different types of formats, also transparent copies of the logo also. And then from there, you're going to want to begin to get the show ready for iTunes. Now, to get the show up on iTunes, first your logo needs to be designed in the size of 1400 by 1400 pixels. It's a little square, and then if you go on iTunes, all the little squares you see are their logos in that size. So 1400 by 1400 is the logo size for iTunes. So you need that for submission up to iTunes. After, let's say you've already recorded your shows, and I'm going to assume you have a computer, you're going to have some type of recording equipment that's come standard with computers these days. Microphone selection is very key. There's a few different brands that are recommended. I myself have always used Studios, so I don't know those brands off the top of my head. But any great podcasting community, a couple of posts will give you some recommendation and links onto the microphones. Quality of sound is very important with a podcast. One of the top complaints with listeners when they find stuff on iTunes is that the sound quality of the product is terrible. And so if you don't have good sound quality, you're going to immediately lose listeners no matter how good the content is. So invest in a proper microphone. Do not rely on the microphone that is simply with the laptop or the desktop computer that you have. So find a good microphone, and also to require your guests to use good microphones on their end as well. I even know one show that overnights a microphone to the guests and then has them send it back to them. That's how concerned they are with the quality of the sound. After you have just recorded some content, it's best to get into, you want to define what your release schedule is going to be. And it's very important to be consistent. If you're not consistent, you're not going to develop a following because they don't know when you're going to release content. So a lot of people start with a weekly show. If you're not doing at least weekly, you're probably not going to gain any type of real traction. So recommend starting out with a weekly show, and as you get comfortable with more and more content, then you can make a decision on whether it makes sense to step up in terms of the number of shows that you produce. But when are you going to release it, and follow that schedule? So pre-record a number of shows before going to iTunes or SoundCloud or wherever it is that you want to release the content, and then begin to release them on a set schedule. So before you release your first episode, if you're going to do something weekly, I'd recommend that you record 4 shows and have 4 weeks ready to go so that you can get in a routine of recording at least something once a week. And if something goes awry, then you have content to keep you, with new episodes coming out. The next thing you need to determine is who is going to host the show. Now, you can host the show on your own server, and a service, or I should say a program called Podcast Generator, is a free service or add-in for a server that will get you an RSS feed, and it will get you set up to submit the show right to iTunes from your server free of charge. It's a free download. Install it on your server, make a few tweaks to the installation program, and then from there it's a matter of uploading the content to the media folder, and then the content will then update on iTunes via the RSS feed. Podcast Generator, again, a great resource. Takes a little bit of IT knowledge, and you then have to have your own server, which will cost you a few $100s. And again, you're going to have to know how to make some changes to a couple of the folders, know how to change them from read-only to read and write. And anybody with basic IT knowledge can go in there and help you with that. And also the nice thing about Podcast Generator is the creator of the program is readily available. You shoot him an email. He'll guide you through the installation, and if you get to a point where you're stuck, he'll even connect to your computer remotely and help you set it up. All he asks is some type of a donation, and I used his help several years ago when I began to set up my podcast on Podcast Generator. But there are some drawbacks to hosting your show on your own server, and so I'll discuss those and why you may consider the paid sources such as Buzzsprout and Libsyn here when I come back from the break. And I'll explain a little bit more about what an RSS feed is, and also some of the more to-dos about getting your podcast up and launched and the benefits of podcasting. So you're currently listening to the all-new That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Meloni. We air new shows each weekday morning at 7 a.m. and all shows available on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. Simply go to thatyoutubechannel.com. And if you'd like to come onto the program and talk about your business, please go to tbsinterview.com. You're listening to That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeagers. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeagers, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Hi, Jackie Skelton from JR World Travel here. If you travel, you need a licensed professional travel consultant, not a computer. Your licensed professional consultant can get you more for your time and your money. Value for your money and experience, not marketing salesmanship. When you're sick, you call the doctor. When you need legal advice, you call an attorney. So the next time you want to go on any type of travel, call your licensed professional travel consultant who actually represents you. We specialise in group travel, family reunions, weddings, to escorting large groups or making special arrangements for the disabled. Please call 844-249-0190. We are a full-service travel consultancy offering worldwide concierge service. Air, land, sea, rivers, resorts. locally, nationally, and internationally. Remember that number, 844-249-0190.
And welcome back to That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Meloni. We're talking about podcasts and how to get one started because they seem overwhelming to some people when in all actuality, they're pretty simple. Nothing more than a microphone and a computer, recording software, and understanding of how to get the content onto iTunes and get you to be a podcaster. For no more than probably a couple $100, you can be up and running as a podcaster. So I was talking about how to deliver the content. And the first thing is you got to understand what an RSS feed is. RSS stands for, I've actually heard it stand for a couple different things. I always say really simple syndication. Syndication means distribution of the content to mass sources. If you're a syndicated show host, for instance, you're on multiple platforms. And so it's a way to easily syndicate or mass broadcast your show to multiple platforms. And in this situation, you're sending it to iTunes. An RSS feed is then read by an RSS reader and then reproduces the content that you're sending it. iTunes is unique in the sense that you send them your RSS feed. Other sites you actually upload the content to, but you don't do that on iTunes. And so you go there, you submit with Podcast Generator, for instance. In the setup screen, there'll be after you've inputted all of your stuff, it'll generate the RSS feed for you. And then you download iTunes. I think most people are familiar with iTunes. And then you go to the store page. And it's a little tricky to find out how to submit a podcast to iTunes. They don't make it very clear and in bold letters, somewhere on iTunes. But you download iTunes and you go to the store main page. And over on the right-hand side, there's a little line that says Submit a Podcast. It's by no means noticeable. But if you click on that, it's going to bring you to a screen and ask you for your Apple ID and login. And from there is where you can submit a podcast. And you can submit as many as you like, as far as I know. And all you do is you copy and paste that RSS feed. The RSS feed, again, is a URL. And if you've ever looked at an RSS feed, you've got to use Internet Explorer to read them. Google Chrome doesn't read them, or maybe it does under a different setting. Edge doesn't understand RSS feeds. I always have to look at mine inside of Internet Explorer. But it's just line by line line items of each of your headlines, your descriptions, and then the file is attached, whether it's an audio or a video. Copy and paste that, and then every time that you upload a new episode and if it's Podcast Generator, to your media folder, the RSS feed automatically updates, and you don't have to update all the other sites. And then there are many other podcasting sites that you could then go and submit your podcast feed to. And the nice thing is you don't have to update the different sites. When you update the media folder, or if you use Libsyn or Buzzsprout, when you upload the new episode, that automatically updates the RSS feed. And so all the other sites are staying fresh as a result of just that RSS feed. And there are a lot of other sites to submit a podcast to. iTunes being the number one site that you want to submit to. After that, a very popular site is SoundCloud. SoundCloud right now, just be mindful if you're only using SoundCloud, there's a lot of talk about them going bankrupt or out of business here within the next year. They're in some financial problems. And so if you only are hosting your content on SoundCloud, now's the time to begin setting it up on some other site. I do know a few people here who only use SoundCloud. They don't put it onto iTunes. The way SoundCloud works versus iTunes is you go to SoundCloud and you can upload your file to that site. You don't actually need an RSS feed. Now, SoundCloud will produce an RSS feed for you. You can use SoundCloud to generate an RSS feed the way that you can Podcast Generator, but I don't recommend that right now because of the position that SoundCloud is in. Also, SoundCloud attracts a lot of bots, a lot of fake profile users. I get a lot of inappropriate messages through SoundCloud and false users through these bots, and so it's kind of been overrun a little bit on that site. So SoundCloud, though, does have a very good base of listeners, but it's not so much designed for the podcaster, more so as it is the musical artist. And so, again, SoundCloud, another resource to submit your podcast to. You don't necessarily need an RSS feed for that. You actually upload the file to SoundCloud. iTunes, though, you submit the podcast to and via the RSS feed, and then multiple other sites where you do the same thing. And good ones are Stitcher. Stitcher is very popular behind iTunes. Spreaker.com is another resource to submit podcasts to. Google Play now has a podcast ability to submit podcasts to the site. A little tricky to find that. Make sure that you're logged into your Google account. And the only way I can even still find how to submit a podcast is to type in their search box, submit a podcast, and it gives you this funky URL to go to, and then from there you're able to upload the RSS feed. So again, the submission of the podcast is not a simple thing to do, even on Google. And I find Google to be kind of difficult to manage, the way that they got so many different pieces in various places. The whole Google thing is confusing. They have so many different things associated with the account that it's just not centralized in any user-friendly capacity, at least not in my opinion. But Google Play being another resource that you could submit your podcast to. Blueberry, which is spelled Blubrry. There's no E in it. It's not Blueberry. It's Blueberry. Blubrry. That's another free podcasting site that you can submit your show to. Playerfm.com. TuneIn. Those are some other sites that you can submit to. And then there's a variety of other places just to copy and paste your RSS feed. And so if you do a simple Google search for places to submit a podcast, you're going to come up with a number of different places to submit. Now, going back to earlier what I said about choosing a provider to host your content and to develop the RSS feed, I had used Podcast Generator for many years, but recently switched to Libsyn, due primarily to the statistics that Libsyn provides. And I'm sure Buzzsprout is very similar to what Libsyn is, but I don't use Buzzsprout. When you're hosting content on your server, you can see all the metrics, through your server back end, but unless you are, well-versed in IT and interpretation of the data, it makes it very difficult to accurately or easily determine the number of downloads that your content is given or getting. And that is key to getting sponsors for your program. So you want to have easy to read metrics that show the number of downloads that your show is getting. And so right on the homepage of Libsyn, it shows you, number of downloads, and it shows you number of downloads per episode. It shows you the region that it's coming from. It shows you the specific client or the bot or the program of that particular download. So a lot of statistics that go along with Libsyn. So, it does charge per storage on the site, but it is a good trade-off for the content, for the resources that they deliver. And if you are a show that produces a lot of content, they do have a flat rate fee available with a fee per gigabyte, or not gigabyte, but megabyte of download or something. You can reach out to their support team, support@libsyn.com, and they can get you squared away with how that works. Libsyn is Libsyn, again, Libsyn.com. And so, again, I highly recommend that. But Podcast Generator is a great resource, though, for others out there who want to produce podcasts. Now, I am currently using Podcast Generator, though, still for the video cast size, because we produce high-definition videos on this program. Podcast Generator is the way I want to go, because I would be paying exorbitant storage fees to Libsyn, and download fees, I should say, if I were to use that service, because the video files are much, much, much more larger than the audio files, especially since we keep them in high definition now. And so Podcast Generator can be used to create a video cast for submission to iTunes. And I highly recommend more and more people explore video on their podcast, because video is naturally a step above audio. It's a step above, images. Went from images to audios to videos and what you need on social media. And so podcasting being a very, steadily growing medium, videos are going to come into play more and more. And so if you're on iTunes and you search for That Business Show 2.0, you'll also see That Business Show 2.0 video cast, and you can watch the show. And when you watch it, you're streaming it off of my server. So hopefully my server is able to hold up to the traffic that it has, or will eventually continue to grow. But as you get more and more downloads, you want to have a stronger server that can handle the interaction with your listeners. But something to be mindful of as you continue to grow. And another reason maybe to consider using sources such as Libsyn and Buzzsprout, because all of that management then is directed through them. Now, you can also sync your existing RSS feed from your server with Libsyn when you set up a new account. It was nice when I went to Libsyn. I was able to take my RSS feed, copy and paste it, and it was able to sync with all of my content and then produce the statistics that I needed going forward from there. I thought I was going to have to upload each file individually, and I've produced over 700 episodes now of this program, and so last thing I want to do is have to be re-uploading and re-tagging any of these programs. And so, in short, that's how you get a podcast up and running. From there, it's about developing quality, regularly produced content that is first entertaining and then informative. Entertainment always trumps informative, but nonetheless, whatever your sphere of influence is and whoever your audience is who you need to be designing your podcast for. If I could help you, I am thinking about opening up a consulting business to help people get their podcast started. So if you're looking for somebody to help build a podcast and get you through the entire process from idea to launch, reach out to me, and we can talk about ways I could help you get that product in place. And again, I know a lot more about podcasting than just what I'm able to cover here in in a 2-segment program. So reach out to me, Jamie, Jamie, Jamie at TampaBayRadio.com, and I'd be happy to talk with you about getting a show launched. Again, Jamie at TampaBayRadio.com, and also we can talk about featuring the show on my site too to help get you some listeners. In addition to putting it out there on as a new show where nobody knows about it, and it takes time to build that up. So again, hope the show has been a great resource for you, and learn more about the program at my site, TampaBayRadio.com. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.